Ladies and gentlemen, there is a storm a-brewing across the Pacific Ocean. China is trying to become the world's next superpower. It is trying to overtake the United States as the global reserve currency. It is trying to become number one, and we cannot allow that. Last week, we discussed the global game of risk and how America needs to win, and China is currently the only person that might be able to dethrone. Now, let's be honest, they're a long way from being able to do it. America's got the largest cojones on the planet. But eventually, if not stopped, China probably will be able to actually do that, if I'm being honest. They're setting in motion the right things. We need to address it right now. Okay? So, we're going to discuss... Boom! See that? Yeah. We're talking about the China threat. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This is the FBI's official website. This is fbi.gov /investigate /counterintelligence / the China threat. This is an official web page, okay? The counterintelligence and economic espionage efforts emanating from the government of China and the Chinese Communist Party are a grave threat to the economic well-being of democrat values of the United States. Oh boy. Confronting this threat is the FBI's top counterintelligence priority. Okay, which is fair. It should be. If it's this big of a threat, it should be their top priority. To be clear, the adversary is not the Chinese people or people of Chinese descent or heritage, okay? Let's make this clear. This is not a race issue. I cannot believe that this has to be the first fucking sentence. Oh, because you know that, look, you know the Democrats are going to spin this and they're going to try and make it a race issue. It's not a race issue. It's just it's an American survival issue, okay? It's capitalism over communism. It's America over China. It's West over East, baby, okay? The threat comes from the programs and policies pursued by an authoritarian government. The Chinese government is employing tactics to seek and influence lawmakers and public opinion to achieve policies that are more favorable to China. Okay? Let's be honest. This is what you do. This is how you do it. Okay? Let's just be honest. Let's be real here. They're doing the right things to make themselves a global superpower. And good on them. We cannot allow that to happen. At the same time, the Chinese government is seeking to become the world's greatest superpower through predatory lending and business practices, systemic theft of intellectual property, and brazen cyber intrusions. Okay, yeah, it's been long known that China has a massive cyber intelligence agency. Okay, China's efforts target businesses, academic institutions, researchers, lawmakers, and the general public, and will require a whole-of-society response. The government and the private sector must commit to working together to better understand and counter the threat. This is from the FBI's official website. Okay? So this is a website, the Council of Foreign Relations.org. Okay, the organization, Council on Foreign Relations. China global governance. China's approach to global governance. Okay, this is something we're going to discuss. Just kind of, we're going to skim through it a little bit because it's a really long document. For more than 2 millennia, monarchs who ruled China proper saw their country as one of the dominant actors in the world. The concept of, that's a name, yeah, Zunguo, sure. The Middle Kingdom, as China calls itself, is not simply geographic. It implies that China is the cultural, political, and economic center of the world. This Sinocentrist worldview has in many ways shaped China's outlook on global governance. Okay, yada, yada, yada. Let's moving through. In the past 2 decades, China has reemerged as a major power. Yes, sir, it absolutely has. With the world's second largest economy and a world-class military. Okay, well, listen, It's got numbers don't necessarily mean everything. At some point it does, but listen. It increasingly asserts itself, seeking to regain its centrality in the international system and over global governance institutions. These institutions, mostly by Western powers of World War II, include include the World Bank. That's actually important. These institutions, created mostly by Western powers after World War II, include the World Bank, which provides loans and grants in developing states, and International Monetary Fund, which works to secure the stability of the global monetary system. They actively say they want to take over the global monetary system. And the United Nations. They want to gain dominance over the United Nations, okay? Come on now. They're actively attacking America. They're trying to overtake America as the world's global dominant power, and we can't fucking allow this to happen, boys and girls. We cannot allow this to happen. Okay, what's next? Yada, yada, yada. China is pursuing a multi-pronged strategy toward global governance. It supports international institutions and agreements aligning with its goals and norms, such as the World Bank and the Paris Agreement on climate change. Yet, on issues... Listen, okay, first of all, China pretends that it's all about climate change and all about carbon neutral and all about, low carbon footprints and shit like that. But a lot... They built... Over COVID, I think they built, 90 fucking coal plants. They were throwing them up, buddy. They don't care at all about a carbon footprint. They just want you to care about it because they want you to waste your money on bullshit-ass institutions that don't fucking mean anything to anybody at all, and they're all about grandstanding. And they want you to waste your fucking money on that bullshit. China works with other authoritarian powers, such as Russia, to create standards that reflect their interests. Yeah, you guys hate Trump because he's supposedly a Russian asset. Well, China and Russia directly work together, and later on in this video I'll end up proving that out. But China and Russia directly fucking work together. Okay, China has become a powerful source of global governance. Increasingly, its efforts appear to be deepening divides with other countries, particularly democracies that are committed to existing norms and institutions. Ultimately, this divide could make it harder for states to collaboratively address major international challenges. The divide could even create two distinct systems of global governance, badly undermining multilateral cooperation. Resurgent China. This is now in the first decade of the 21st century. China often proved willing to play in international rules and norms. As its economy grew, however, Beijing assumed a more active role in global governance, signaling its potential to lead and to challenge existing institutions and norms. The country boosted its power in four ways. Number one, it took on a large role in the international institutions. Number two, it advised its increasing influence, or it advertised its increasing influence, Number three, laid the groundwork to create some of its own organizations. And number four, sometimes subverted global governance rules. Okay, so they started doing those four things. They started creating their own shit, advertising that they're increasing in their influence, meaning, pro-advertisements for China. And then they started laying the groundwork for their own organizations, obviously. And then they just started breaking global governance rules because we're large enough and there's nothing you can really do to stop us, because going to war with us would mean a world war at this point. China's increasing role in its international organizations. Okay, China surpassed Japan to become the world's second biggest economy and earned the third greatest percentage of votes in the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Meanwhile, Chinese nationals ascended to senior positions in international organizations. Okay, now they've got guys on the inside at the highest levels of things. Do you see where this is going? They've been working on this for a long time. They're doing it properly. We need to stop it, because if we don't, America is going to end up becoming a third world country much like China used to be, or even is now. In 2006, Margaret Chan was appointed Director General of the World Health Organization. And we wonder why the 2020 quote-unquote pandemic from Wuhan, China was really, really suppressed by the World Health Organization. We wonder why everything was shut down except China. We wonder why things were forced to buy medicine and personal protective equipment from China specifically. We wonder. Yeah. In office, she maintained several of Beijing's goals, including supporting its plan to promote traditional Chinese medicine. Are we fucking catching on now?
Also, part of that foreign aid bill is a measure that would force TikTok's Chinese-based...
All right, so this is Fox News. Like I said, they're going to cover 5 China threats that the U.S. cannot afford to ignore. We've already started talking about a couple of them. Like I said, there's a storm brewing across the Pacific Ocean right now. They are doing it properly, and boy, does it spell doom for the U.S. if we don't stop it. Let's see what Fox says about this.
Owner to sell the company or face a ban here in the U.S. Former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor Mike Pompeo joins us now. Mr. Secretary, thanks for being here.
Jackie, it's great to be with you this morning.
So, Mr. Secretary, it was really kind of a genius move of Mike Johnson to slip this into the foreign aid package and send it as part of that deal over to the Senate, because the bill that had overwhelmingly passed the House as a standalone bill to force this sale of TikTok was really kind of hanging out in limbo in the Senate. But you know well that the Trump administration tried to do this before, so there are still some pitfalls ahead. What do you see happening here potentially?
Well, Jackie, I'm pleased with the progress that's been made. We in the United States have never allowed...
Yeah, Trump's been saying this for a long time. Like, China is a really big threat, and now it seems like his FBI is saying the same thing. His DNI, Tulsi Gabbard's probably saying the same thing as well. I would imagine everybody in Trump's administration is kind of on the same page here. China needs to be dealt with because in the global game of risk, America needs to win.
A foreign adversary to have control of a media entity inside the United States of America. We've never let our enemies communicate directly through a enterprise, a communication. So
he's even working by now. He's gotten TikTok, I believe, to be under the control of an American company. I'm not sure what that means necessarily in terms of like whether China was able to just get cut right the fuck out or how that went exactly. But I know that Trump became really big on TikTok and all of a sudden changed his mind about whether or not he liked it, which is kind of a fucked up thing. But also, I don't use TikTok because I read the terms and conditions whenever it first came out, and no, I don't see a reason to give it access to literally everything on my phone for any reason, and they can do whatever they want with the information. Also, it directly said that, and I didn't want to give them that kind of access, so I don't use TikTok, but I believe that it is now under the control of an American company.
It used to be in the old days, it was television networks and stations. We didn't let foreign adversaries own those. This is the same idea. We can't let the Chinese Communist Party own a communication mechanism to reach every one of our children, teenagers, people all across America propagandizing against our country and in support.
Also, I believe while it was under the control of China, the Chinese people, whenever they were scrolling through TikTok, they would see like science and engineering and like rocket science type videos, right? They would see like feats of strength or like gymnastics routines and stuff like that. They would see like objectively good like role models on their streams, on their For You pages, on their like Discover thing or whatever the fuck it is on there. And in America, it was always like the most stupid ass degenerate shit, right? We all know TikTok. It's all stupid. Everybody makes a 15-second video of them doing some crazy shit. My favorite thing is seeing somebody out in the wild doing it in front of a phone because it's really funny to just sit and watch. But it's again, I believe it's now subject to U.S. laws, so that is a plus. I still don't use it.
Support of the Chinese Communist Party. So
and I don't recommend that any of you use it either. I'm sorry.
President Biden will likely sign it today, and then I hope, while this isn't a ban of TikTok, TikTok can still continue to exist. It just cannot be owned by a foreign adversary. It makes perfect sense. It's common sense, and I think the American people across a broad political spectrum support this central idea of making sure that we don't allow Communist Party adversaries to communicate directly with our children.
Do you think, though, that there's a chance that there's some court challenge? I mean, especially if there's a clause in there that you can extend the deadline if there's a pending sale. I mean, how quickly do you see this actually happening, and what's the risk that some litigation gets in the way?
Oh, that's our system, Jackie. It's likely the case that there will be some who sue on various grounds. Could be members of Congress, some of whom don't like this, would sue as well. But in the end, I think common sense will prevail. The timing is important, but not the most essential. In the end, what matters is that we regain U.S. or at least non-adversarial ownership of that communication, that important media enterprise that's speaking directly to the American people.
Yeah, I think ultimately the goal was just China is so adversarial to the United States that it could be owned by literally anybody else, and we would be fine with it. They're just short of calling China. Well, I wonder if China is like designated an enemy. Maybe I'll find that out later in this stream. But we'll see. But I know that it isn't necessarily considered a superpower. It's considered like an emerging or a potential superpower, but I don't think it's quite there yet.
I want to get your thoughts on a second issue, on these anti-Israel protests that we're seeing on elite college campuses. You heard from Senator Tom Cotton saying there should be some consequences. Listen to this.
Any of these students who are foreigners here on visas should immediately have their visas revoked by the Biden administration and be promptly deported. They have no right to be here. They certainly have no right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is an older video, but
to be here spewing anti-Semitic and anti-Israel filth.
What's your take on that?
I think Senator Cotton's got it just about right. Maybe, Jackie, we could start too by not forgiving their student loans. I mean, there's lots of federal tools to prevent anti-Semitic, violent speech that is threatening Jewish kids on campuses all across America. We see it on Columbia's campus and Yale, and even a place that I went to school at, Harvard Law School. They had to close Harvard Yard. That's deeply un-American. They've had to cancel classes at Columbia. Those kids are getting cheated out of their education because a handful of pro-Hamas demonstrators have decided they're going to disrupt these institutions. Let's get control. If it requires the federal government to take action, it absolutely should do so. And President Biden has the capacity to fix this and solve this. We know how to stop these kinds of protests on campus where people don't feel safe leaving their dorm room and heading to a meeting or to Hillel or to wherever they're going to their synagogue. That's deeply un-American, dangerous, and we ought to get after it right now. And the federal government absolutely has a role in it.
The president also has the ability to speak out against it. He's got the biggest megaphone in the world and hasn't used it yet, so we'll be watching. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of disagree. I don't think that Muslims should exist in the United States, but that's just because, from what I can tell, it's a pretty self-destructive religion. It's the only one that I know of that is okay with you making a martyr of yourself. That doesn't make much sense to me. I don't think any other religion on the planet is okay with suicide. Like, I understand, like, risking your life to save somebody, but that's not what they're doing. They're strapping a bomb to themselves, running into the middle of the most crowded area they can find, and blowing themselves up. That's not saving anybody. That's retarded behavior that I don't think should be celebrated in any way. And the fact that there's a whole religion that celebrates it makes no sense to me. And so I don't think that they should exist in the United States because they can't integrate properly. Okay, they are so damn ass backwards that they just can't. I'm sorry. We got Representative Andy Barr in the House. House passes Barr's Stop Chinese Fentanyl Act to hold the CCP accountable. So China, we all know, was the original. There was a lab in Wuhan, China, that created the COVID virus. Okay. And we also know that the majority of the fentanyl that's on American streets is created in China and then shipped over to the Mexican cartels and then brought across the southern border by the Mexican cartels and sold to drug dealers on the street who then distribute it to the random people who fucking die of fentanyl overdoses, right? So this Representative Andy Barr here put forward a motion that would help stop that. Let's see what
Thank
they
you,
have
Mr.
to say
Speaker,
about
and I thank my friend from Washington State and Chairman Mast for supporting the legislation. I thank my friend, the gentleman from New York, the ranking member, for his bipartisan support as well. And I rise today in support of my legislation, H.R. 747, the Stop Chinese Fentanyl Act. The fentanyl crisis is one of the
Absolute W. We need to get these drugs off the streets.
most significant threats to our country, and it continues to plague families and neighbors across the United States. Kentucky, sadly, my home state, has been ravaged by the fentanyl crisis. Drug overdoses are the leading cause of death for Americans age 18 to 45, and fentanyl is responsible for nearly 70% of these deaths. Last year, the DEA seized more than 60 million fentanyl-laced fake
Fucking
pills in the
tragedy,
United
dude.
States, almost 80,000 pounds of fentanyl powder, equal to more than 380 million lethal doses of fentanyl. As of last month, the
Jeez.
2025 seizures of fentanyl equate to over 232 million deadly doses. 70,000 of our fellow Americans succumbed to this poison.
Jesus,
And
dude.
as we know, in 2024,
I mean, we're getting real close to just designating China a fucking state sponsor of terrorism. I was like, let's be honest. We've already designated these cartels foreign terrorist organizations. So if China is found to be supplying them maybe even more than they currently are right now, they might just be designated a state sponsor of terrorism the same way that Iran was.
over 1,400 Kentuckians lost their lives to a drug overdose, including fentanyl. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
this scourge has spread with the help of our greatest strategic adversary, the People's Republic of China and the Chinese Communist Party. As a member
Yeah,
of the
they're
Select Committee
trying.
on the Strategic Competition with the Chinese Communist Party, we conducted an investigation. And that investigation in the last Congress established that the PRC government, under the control of the Chinese Communist Party, directly subsidizes the manufacturing and export of illicit fentanyl materials and other synthetic narcotics through tax rebates. Many of these substances are illegal under the PRC's own laws and have no known legal use worldwide. Like its export tax rebates for legitimate
Well, no, so it's illegal for their citizens to do anything, but the Chinese Communist Party, the People's Liberation Army, and the People's Republic of China, the actual government organization, can do whatever the fuck they want, and they've made that abundantly clear.
goods, the CCP's subsidies of illegal drugs incentivizes international synthetic drug sales from the People's Republic of China.
Yep.
And the CCP never disclosed this program.
We covered that earlier. The director of the World Health Organization is like a member of the Chinese government or like a Chinese national, I think. And she's directly supporting the, hey, use more Chinese drugs thing. Like we covered that earlier with the Council on Foreign Relations report on it.
In addition, the Select Committee found that the CCP gave monetary grants and awards to companies openly trafficking illicit fentanyl materials and other synthetic narcotics. There are even examples of some of these companies enjoying site visits from provincial PRC government officials who complimented them for their impact on the provincial economy. The CCP holds an ownership interest in several PRC companies tied to drug trafficking, including PRC government prison connected to human rights abuses, owning a drug trafficking chemical company and a publicly traded PRC company hosting thousands of instances of open drug trafficking on its sites. The PRC failed to prosecute fentanyl and precursor manufacturers. Rather than investigating drug traffickers, the government of the PRC security services have not cooperated with U.S. law enforcement and have even notified targets of U.S. investigations.
Why the fuck would they? First of all, they're a foreign nation, so why would they cooperate with the U.S. law enforcement? But also, they know they're doing some shady shit, so why would they cooperate with the U.S. law enforcement? Like, I don't understand.
When they receive requests for
We already know that it doesn't matter that they're breaking one of their laws as well. Those laws are for the general people. The government can do whatever the fuck they want.
assistance. The PRC allows for the open sale of fentanyl precursors and other illicit materials on the extensively monitored and controlled PRC internet. A review of just 7 e-commerce sites found that over 31,000 instances of PRC companies selling illicit chemicals with obvious ties to drug trafficking Undercover communications with PRC drug trafficking companies revealed an eagerness to engage in clearly illicit drug sales with no fear of reprisal. And the government in China censors content about domestic drug sales, but leaves export-focused narcotics content untouched.
Yep.
So we know that China has historically been and remains a primary source of fentanyl in global circulation through the production of these precursor chemicals and outsourcing of final production to cartel labs in Mexico. That's why it's paramount that Congress pass my legislation that's being considered here today, the Stop Chinese Fentanyl Act. My bill amends the Fentanyl Sanctions Act to expand the definition of foreign opioid trafficker to include certain Chinese entities and government officials that fail to take steps to prevent opioid trafficking, subjecting them to sanctions. The bill also requires the President to determine whether the heads of the National Narcotics Control Commission, the Ministry of Public Security, the General Administration of Customs, and the National Medical Products Administration of the government of the PRC are foreign opioid traffickers. We must attack the production of fentanyl by targeting the source of precursors in China.
I would agree. If it's being made in China, then we need to attack it there and not on the street where it's just being distributed. I mean, it makes sense to me. But I've been saying this whole time that China's a threat to the United States. Trump's been saying this the whole time. China, China. We need to stop China. And he's right. We do absolutely need to stop China. In the global game of risk, America needs to win. Period.
Chinese producers of synthetic opioids and opioid precursors and senior government and Chinese political officials' culpability does not end when their precursor products land in Mexico or illegally cross our southern border. We must look at every step of fentanyl's deadly supply chain and hold our adversaries accountable. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back.
Gentleman from...
Whoa, it's almost like the Republicans give a damn about their people and they're not just pandering for this. It's weird. Anyway, definitely subscribe on Rumble, subscribe on YouTube. I'm everywhere that videos are posted. You can follow me on X, and I stream once a week on Kick. So I look forward to seeing you guys. Bye.